really are Christian today. And the Christian way of looking at things is absolutely not the same as the ancient star knowledge way of looking at life. Yeah, they're just two different things. And so this song, just the Rezboys, called, it's about a guy encountering two situations in which uh, people, in the first verse, yeah, the first verse is talking about uh, um, seeing this really pretty Indian girl. She's an Indian girl. The song doesn't say it, but it is, it's real life. Yeah, this is based on real life. This is a real experience that happened. It didn't happen to me, but um, I've seen this happen many times. Yeah, and this girl was a very very pretty Indian girl, and um, she was a Navajo girl. What I saw, the situation I saw happened in Utah, in Provo, Utah, Brigham Young University. I wasn't going to school there, but um, I was going to school near that place, and Salt Lake City is not that far away, yeah. And so a lot of times you run into people at Indian events and stuff like that. And this guy was telling me that, yeah, there's this real pretty Navajo girl, and what was her name? Hmm. I know her first name is Sandra, but I can't remember her last name. I shouldn't say it anyway, be out of respect, yeah. But this girl was, every Indian guy really saw this as the prettiest Indian girl in ever. Um, but I didn't see it like that. She was just not my cup of tea. Yeah, she's just not my style. To me, she was really superficial. She wasn't real. Yeah, she was fake in a lot of aspects of her life, and she only, you know, uh, she really held herself, up on the pedestal, too high. Yeah, to the point where it was just selfish. But guys would try. Yeah, they would try to. They'd ask her out, and here, this one guy, I won't even say his name out of respect, but he's a good friend of mine. He asked her out, and she said, "I am sick and tired of you, Res boys." Um, she said, "I don't need a Res boy. I need a real man." She said. And they're like, "Whoa, my goodness!" and and here somebody was saying that, yeah, one time she was at, see, in the Mormon church they have the first Sunday of every month is called Fast and Testimony Sunday, or Fast Sunday. It's, you have to walk around really fast. Everything you do has to be really fast. You have to eat fast and all day, yeah. No, no, just kidding. So anyway, what's going on? I want to. I want. No, no. What they do is, if you're healthy enough physically, because this is not for people who have health problems, yeah, but this is only for people who can do this, who are healthy, is that they ask you to go on a fast. You start on Saturday afternoon, and you don't eat or drink anything for 24 hours. And during this time, when you're awake, you're supposed to be prayerful. Yeah, you're supposed to be praying. You're supposed to be doing something out of compassion for others. Think about things, meditate. You don't be watching TV or movies or anything like that. You're supposed to be really spiritual. Yeah, during that 24 hours. Then the next day on Sunday, when they go to church, they testify. Yeah, they bear testimony. They call it, and they'll say things like, "Yeah, I know the Church of Jesus Christ is true, and that Joseph Smith was a prophet of God, and that Jesus is the literal Son of God, and that this Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is the only true Church of Jesus Christ on this earth." You have to have those three things in there. Then you can say anything else. And see, I did my research. Yeah, I know this real good. And then people tell stories or something experience that happened or something like that, and then they end it by saying, "I say this in the name of Jesus Christ, Amen." And then they get that, go back to where they were sitting. Then the next person they go to the podium, yeah, in front of the congregation, and they do this. I mean, you don't have to do that, but only if you want to, because a lot of times Utah is Mormon country, and over half the population is Mormon, and so you have Mormon churches every 2 blocks or so. Not joking, yeah. And every church building holds 200 people. So you're not going to have time to, have all 200 members, bear testimony. There's just not enough time. Yeah. So you only have an hour. So it's if you want to, you can, but you have to make it quick. Yeah. So that's what they call that. This fast and testimony Sunday. Well, anyway, during one of these Sundays, this Sandra she got up and she was talking, and a lot of people cry. They get all emotional because they didn't eat, they didn't drink anything. If they played it right, I mean, some people probably cheat, but some people really like to put on a show. Yeah, they're like, yeah. Well, that's what she was doing. She was going for Best Actress of the Year. Yeah, she was going for the Oscar there. So she put in one hell of a performance. And one of the things she said was that, "I am so thankful for the Mormon Church and the Mormon Placement Program for taking me off the reservation, because if it weren't for the Mormon Placement Program, I probably would be, I probably would have met an Indian guy, and I probably would have had a bunch of kids, and then he probably would have just left me, because that's what happens on the res. So I'm really thankful, for the Mormon Placement Program for taking me off the res and giving me a good chance at life." Yeah. And people were like, "Geez, what the hell kind of testimony is that?" Yeah. And then she said, "I say the name of Jesus Christ," and then she went and sat down. Yeah. So people were going like, "What the fuck kind of thing is that to say?" Yeah. That the people on the reservation are no good. Yeah. She really was putting down people from the reservation, and to say that she would have just met an Indian guy, and he would have gave her a bunch of kids, and she would have just been knocked up all the time, and he would have been taking off on her all the time, and she made it look like all Indian guys do that, and a lot of people weren't too appreciative of that. She really put down people from the reservation. Now, I have to explain one thing here, because some of you don't know. This Mormon placement program, this was a program where white Mormons in Utah, Arizona, Idaho, and California would take in Indian kids during the school year. Now, you have to be Mormon, okay? It's not just any Indian kid. You have to be a member of the Mormon Church. So Indians from all over America were in this program because at that time, in the early or 60s and 70s, 1960s, 1970s, Indian schools really had low quality education. And this, if you graduated from an Indian school, your chances of getting into really good universities are almost next to nothing. So people want to, it's better to go to a state school, a public school, because then you have better chances. For example, I know two girls. They're both 10 years younger than me. These two girls are cousins. Okay, their moms are sisters. So in the Lakota way, they're really sisters. Yeah, that's the Tioshbe way. But the one went to the school where I went to, in Dupree. The other one went to the tribal school in Igbo, the BIA school. Okay, it's an Indian school. And the one from Dupree, she graduated with a C average. That's like 2.0. Okay, the highest score is 4.0. But this girl from Dupree, she graduated with a 2.0 grade point average. The girl from the tribal school, she was a straight A student. Okay? She was valedictorian of her class. Straight A student. That means her score was 4.0. Top score. Top student. Out of 100 students, she was a top student in her class. Okay? They both graduated at the same time. They both are Mormons. And they both applied to Brigham Young University, which is a private school, private Mormon university. They both applied. Which one do you think got in? You have one girl, straight A, 4.0, top score, but from an Indian school. Okay? And the other girl, 2.0, C average. It's an average score. It's not high, but it's average. But she graduated from a state school, public school. Which one do you think got into BYU? The straight A student or the C average student? The C average student got in. Yeah. she had 2.0 grade point average, and here she got into BYU. Her cousin was a straight A student from the Indian school, and she couldn't get in. Yeah, because that's the standing of Indian education. It's not high quality. So that's why smart mothers, smart parents want their children to go to public schools, because they'll get better quality education. That's what my mom wanted for me. So that's why I went to that school where I went to, the public school. Okay? So it's just crazy, isn't it? But that's how it is. So this Mormon placement program, you got to go, buses came to the reservations, these big chartered buses. And then you would get assigned a family, yeah. So Lakota kids generally ended up in Idaho. Navajo kids ended up in Utah and sometimes California. Yeah, so that was they had Mormon kids, Mormon Indian kids from all over, yeah, that were in this program. And the whole idea was to get them to stay with a Mormon family and excuse me, this Mormon family would look after them. They would take care of them, feed them, give them a bed and stuff like that, and that they're supposed to be a loving family. These Mormon families have to go through training, to be adoptive parents, and they're just going to be adoptive parent for the school year. The kid goes home for Christmas, yeah, and Easter, but comes back, and also summer they go home. So a lot of times these are poor Indian kids, yeah. So they when they get to these families, they they get new clothes and things like that. So um, there were some good stories, but there were a lot of horror stories too. Like farmers, yeah, farmers would request for an Indian girl. So what they would do is they would gang rape her in the barn. Yeah, she was a sex slave, basically. That happened in the Mormon church. This is a true story. Happened hundreds of times. So there's good and ugly in that experience. Yeah, so that's the Mormon. They call it the Mormon placement program. So this is what that girl was talking about. That was bearing her testimony when she said, "I'm thankful for the Mormon placement program because of that. It took her and put her in a family in Utah, a kind of wealthy family. Yeah, that they took her in, and she basically grew up with them. She didn't want to go back to the res because I think her parents were alcoholics or something like that. So there was nothing to go back to, and she was the only child. So she stayed with this wealthy family in Utah and got into Brigham Young University. And she didn't want to go out with Indian guys. Yeah, she didn't want to go out with res guys. A lot of Mormon, a lot of Indian Mormon girls are like that. They don't want to go out with Indian guys. They want to get themselves a white husband, so their children will have lighter skin than them. This is the honest to goodness truth. I'm not making this up. Yeah. So this girl I'm talking about, she's just one of hundreds of Indian girls that are like that. Yeah. And these Mormon families, when they take in these Indian kids, they encourage these Indian kids to marry white so that their children will be lighter skin color, because lighter skin is better than dark skin. That's this. It's a misunderstanding of a Mormon concept. Yeah. So this is what that's about. Anyway, this girl was saying that, yeah, that she was really happy for the placement program because it took her off the res, and now she's at BYU, and and like I said, Indian guys are asking her out left and right because she was a really pretty girl, but she kept turning them down, and she was getting mad. She was saying, I don't want a res boy. She said, I don't want to have anything to do with a res boy. Yeah. So if you were from the res, you didn't stand a chance with this girl. Yeah. And so this what this verse is about. That first verse, yeah. I saw her at the church one Sunday. What's the lyrics go? I saw her at the church one Sunday, grasping the holy book. Sunday clothes and a skinny waist, lips with an attitude. She had pouting lips, she was really, really flirting at the same time, but not with Indian guys. Yeah. I walked up her and bowed to her, asking with a pleading voice, "Tonight, will you be my savior?" She said, "I don't date res boys." Yeah, so that's what that's talking about. It's that girl. And then the refrain goes, "So I'm just a res boy. That Jesus guy is one too. Yeah, just a res boy, a savage beast on the loose. Oh, why don't you please save me, enslave me?" Because that's what you heard me talking about. Duality enslaves you. Christianity enslaves you. It doesn't set you free like you think. It enslaves you because it limits your vision. You only see one third of reality. You only accept one third of reality in dualistic living, and that includes being a Christian. So that's what this lyrics are referring to. Yeah. So this part, so I'm just a res boy, that Jesus guy is one too. Because a lot of people believe Jesus was just a teacher and nothing more. He was human. He made mistakes too. He was not perfect. And so that's why I said that Jesus he's a res boy too. He's down to earth. He's normal. He's not Mr. Fancy pants. It even says it in the Bible, that when he was an adult, he was going into the bars, he was going into the neighborhoods where really questionable people live, and the Jewish priests were really scoffing at him, and oh, look at what he's doing. He's sitting with the prostitutes. Oh, why is he doing that? Why is he, like that? If he's really the Son of God, why is he with these awful people? That's what they were saying. They were judging him. And then finally, one of them asked him. They asked Jesus, "Why are you here?" Jesus answered them. He said that, well, you know what? You guys are already, have the law. You're living it. So why should I teach you? I came for people who need help. I came for people who are having problems. Yeah, for people who, are living in very, sinful ways. I came for them. I didn't come for you, he said. And that really pissed him off. See, he's being a servant to people who need him. He's a res boy. A res boy is about being real. Yeah, you make do with what you have, and you make the best out of it. And whatever life throws your way, you make the best out of it. You learn from it, like I was saying earlier. That's what being a res person is all about, being real. So this Navajo girl, when she was saying, I don't go out with res boys, she was being like these Jewish priests that were putting Jesus down. You see what I mean? So that's what the song is about. So when they were playing this song on some of the native radio stations in America, in various reservations several years ago, and these DJs, they called me up. Yeah, they told me what happened, and they said, "Yeah," so we got people were calling in, the Indian Christian priests were calling in, and they were really angry that that song was playing on the radio that says, "So I'm just a res boy." That is Jesus guy is one too. So they're mad because I'm in the song I'm saying I'm like Jesus. And they don't like that because Christians see Jesus as perfect, Son of God. So they're getting mad because they think I'm saying that I'm perfect, that I'm the Son of God, that I'm the Savior, that I'm the Messiah. They didn't like that. They thought that's what I was saying. So they took it before these. You see, a lot of Indian radio stations, they're public service kind of things. So they're non-profit, and they have a board of directors. Yeah, and the board of directors makes the decisions for the radio station. So a lot of these priests went to their board of directors, and they complained about that song. And so they took a vote on it, and they banned that song. Yeah, just the Res Boy. So you see, this is really evidence of how Christian Indians have become. And I thought that was so funny. And just in case you want to know what happened to that Navajo girl that was holier than thou, she turned into a prostitute. Yeah, she was going to this. There's this disco. Um, what was it called again? Because it's a Mormon social place. There's no alcohol served there. Yeah, they serve non-alcohol drinks there. Um, but it's a place to, what people do is they there's a big parking lot outside this disco, so people um, snort their cocaine and sell their drugs and prostitutes set up business in the cars in the parking lots. So all the sinning is happening in the parking lot, and they just go inside to dance. Yeah, people bring their own alcohol and they drink it in the parking lots. And there was this black guy from Salt Lake City that was taking an interest in girls. Yeah, and what he would do is he would groom them. So he was what do you call it? Going out with this Sandra, and he was grooming her, and he was buying her gifts, and telling her how beautiful she is, and how he's falling in love with her. He never felt this way before. Talking that usual nonsense that sleazy guys say, and so she fell for it, and then he slowly got her on drugs and hardcore drugs, yeah, and by slipping it into her drink, yeah, and then guys were paying him to have sex with her, and she couldn't do anything because she was incapacitated, and at the same time she was getting addicted to the drug. So um, he really had a powerful effect on her, and so next thing you know, she's working in the fancy hotels in Salt Lake City as a prostitute. Yeah, she's a hooker. So she won't go out with Rezboys, but she'll take money from businessmen to have sex. that's that's better. And after a couple years, nobody knew what happened to her. She just dropped off the face of the earth. So nobody knew. Yeah, so people were thinking, yeah, he probably there were rumors, but rumors are rumors, but sometimes they might have an ounce of truth in it. And one of the rumors was that he was that this black guy was making porno films with this, and there's a lot of porno that's really sick. It's violent, very violent. Today it's on the rise. Yeah, it's what did they say? I said this figure before. I think it was like 60 something percent of the men who surf the internet for pornography. 60% of those men search for violent. They call it abuse porn, where they talk real nice to you and stuff like that, to the girl, I mean, and then just out of the blue they grab her by the neck and are getting ready to choke her and tell her, they say do this and do that, and you could tell the ones that weren't expecting that they're truly scared. Yeah, you see it in their eyes, and people like to see that. There's sickos out there who really like to see girls in terror like that. These are probably guys with inferiority complexes and dominating mothers, stuff like that. And so this is a way for them to, have a revenge, and then they get influenced by this, and they do it in real life. And next thing you know, you have a serial rapist running around. That's one of the ways that happens. It's not the only way. But there was the rumor that the sender was going around. Uh, that she was in abuse porn movies, and that most likely she died in one of the movies. People pay for that too, to watch people get murdered. What do they call that? Snuff films. That was a big thing in the 70s, and I think it still is. People pay a lot of money for that, to watch somebody get physically, sexually abused and then killed at the same time. It's crazy, And so that was the rumor, is that she probably was killed in something like that, and that was it, yeah. So I'm just a res boy. I'd rather be a res boy than be a sicko, yeah. So I don't mind being a res boy. I'm proud of it. Anyway, that's what that song is about. And then the second verse is it's so prophetic when I think about it now. Yeah, the second verse was I saw her by a sweat lodge in Italy. She smiled. How does that go? I saw her by the sweat lodge in Italy. A smile was something. I gotta look at the lyrics. Hang on, let me pull up the file because I need to get this right. But this is about exploitation of Lakota ceremonies by Europeans, and also by real Indians who come to Europe and pretend to be medicine men. And what they do is they charge a lot of money to like $500. That's what this verse is saying. Let's see, just a res boy. Here it is. Oh, excuse me, sorry. Okay, here it says. Second verse is, I saw her by a sweat lodge in Italy. Her eyes were smiling at me. She started revealing herself to me, but I didn't want to see, because in a lot of these sweat lodge ceremonies, it's like an orgy. Yeah, these guys they have people pay $500 at that time. Today it's probably $1,000 per person, and the fake medicine man is all he's gonna do is he's gonna fuck these girls. He only wants women in the sweat lodge. Yeah, and you have to pay him before you can go in. So it says here, she started revealing herself to me, but didn't want to see. See, she's doing that to flirt with him. Yeah, that to say, hey, you can fuck me if you come inside. That's what she's saying. Inside the sweat lodge, you can fuck me. And but see, the sweat lodge ceremony is for purification. It's not for sex. It's not to let's get it hotter than hell. The more we suffer, the more good things will happen. And that's not it either. That's Catholic. A lot of Indians do that. They think that the hotter it is inside the sweat lodge, the better the experience, and that's total bullshit. That's linear thinking. Yeah, only thinking, going in one direction, saying that the hotter it is, the better it is. The more you suffer, the better it is. That's linear thinking. That's not the purpose behind that ceremony. So that shows you they're looking at the sweat lodge ceremony from a non-Lakota perspective. Yeah? Okay, the verse continues. I started to go to the entrance. I was stopped by an accented voice. And this voice says, $500 in advance. I said, I'm just a Umshika Rezboy. Umshika means poor, pitiful. Yeah? So then the refrain happens again. So the person just went for the ceremony, but they told him you have to pay $500 before you go in. That's the kind of thing that happens in Europe. It happens in America too, in the East Coast and West Coast, and Colorado's a big, big, big bullshit zone of New Agers that really do this kind of shit. And there's Indians that are participating in it. Yeah, there's Indians from Rosebud and Pine Ridge that are down there in Colorado, and they're charging outrageous sums of money for New Agers to come and do this ceremony, and a lot of twisted, sick things happen inside. Yeah, there was a guy who was saying he was Lakota, and he was in Santa Fe, New Mexico, and he went in, he was running a sweat lodge, and there was this one really pretty girl that was coming to check him up, see what he's all about, and then he said that I can tell there's something bothering you, and how did you know? She said, the truth is everybody feels like that. We all have something bothering us, whether it's great or small. We always worried about something. It's nothing strange. Yeah, it's part of life. But anyway, she had really low self-esteem, so he took advantage of her. Yeah, he said that, come inside the sweat lodge, and then I can do a better reading to see what the problem is. So she said, okay, what do I have to do? She said. So he told her it was $200, I think. So she said, okay. She gave him $200, and they went up into the mountains. Yeah. Santa Fe Mountains, and they started to. He set up a sweat lodge, and then. Oh no! He didn't set up a sweat lodge. What he did was he made what do you call, on the ground. He made this huge medicine wheel. He drew it on the ground, and then he said that this is. He told her this was a medicine wheel, and he sang some kind of song, and he said he's putting power in the medicine wheel, and that the earth power is mixing with that. And so what she's supposed to do is she's supposed to lay on that medicine wheel to absorb that healing power. Yeah. And he said that she really has to be connected to it. And the best way to do that is to tie her down. Yeah. So that her arms and legs are spread eagle like that. Yeah, in each of the 4 parts of the medicine wheel, and then to make things, to help her visualize the healing, he tied a a black cloth over her eyes, so she couldn't see anything. So he was telling her, things that are going to happen, that good things are going to happen to her, that healing is coming to her, and she was like, oh, thank you. Then all of a sudden, he raped her. Yeah. And she was, he was telling her, that the spirits are putting medicine inside of you. It may feel really uncomfortable, but that's just the surface. He said, what's happening is that the spirits are putting a medicine inside of you, and that's going to really help you too. And so she believed it, and he was saying this, and all that time his penis was inside of her. But he was saying, it's the spirits, he said. They're going to put medicine inside of you, and he ejaculated his semen inside of her. Yeah. Then he said, you have to stay up here for 4 days and 4 nights. And so he's just making things up as he's going along, and he's taking things from different Lakota ceremonies and putting it all together. Yeah, there is no such thing as a medicine wheel ceremony, not like this. He just made it up so he could have sex with her. The spirits are gonna come to you several times a day, and they're gonna give you medicine, but you have to stay up here. He said, then after the 4 days and 4 nights, you'll be cured. He said. She knew that he raped her. Yeah, so she just laid there until she made sure, that he was gone. Then she started to slowly, pull the stakes out. Yeah, and was able to get out, and then she ran down the hill. She didn't have any clothes on, and she ran to the nearest house, told them to call the cops, and then she told them what happened. So they went looking for this guy, and they didn't find him. He ended up in California or someplace like that. He was a fake medicine man. How do you know how I know this? She contacted me next. Yeah, she found my website on the internet and she contacted me. So I talked with her and I explained to her that what he did. Yeah, I told her what parts he was taking from different ceremonies and mixing it all together. And I said, I told her, I said, you know what? She was only about, I think, 27 years old. And so I said, you don't need any ceremonies. I said, I told her, about how women have 7 levels of development and men have 4. Yeah, and that creates an imbalance. So because of that imbalance, men have to do 3 ceremonies to come into balance with women. I said, you don't need any ceremony. I said, it's already inside of you. I said, if he was a real medicine man, he would have told this to you. So he wanted sex, yeah, and he wanted to see how much money he could get from you as well. He wanted to totally control you. I said, a real medicine man would have never done that to you. A real medicine man, if he had to do anything to you, he would ask you to bring somebody with you so you don't be scared. But he will never be alone with you. You have to be with somebody your mother or somebody you trust will be with you. And he wants that, to be like that. So you'll feel okay. Yeah? And a woman doesn't need sweat ceremony. A woman doesn't need humblecha, crying for a vision. A woman doesn't need these things because it's already inside of her. Men don't have that. That's why we have to do that. It doesn't make us better. It brings us into balance with women. So I told her a story called When the Moon Cried. And that explains everything. Why it's this way that I said. Yeah? And then she started to cry. So I said, let it out. Let it out. Let it out. Yeah, that's the beginning of real healing. I said. Then I counseled her from that point on. I didn't charge her 1 cent because that's not what it's about. Yeah? Healing does not have a price. Never has a price. You don't need a seminar or a shaman course. No, you just need to learn certain things and then live it. And you'll do just fine. So I was able to guide her in that direction, and then after a couple of years or so, I'll let her be free. She can do it on her own now. That's the way it's done. Well, they eventually caught up with this guy in Portland, Oregon. That he was raping a lot of women, and he's in prison now, where he's probably getting raped. Yeah, interesting how things turn out. Yeah? I don't mean to laugh at him, but it's funny. Sometimes that happens. Yeah, whatever you send out comes back to you 4 times as strong. So I had to guide this young lady into, sending out healthy things too, so that it comes back to her and that she comes to peace with this. That was very important, to come to peace with this experience, so that she doesn't become a man hater. Yeah, and then a lesbian after that, because that's not the way to answer it. That's not the way to deal with it. That's just changing one pain to another. Yeah, one addiction to another addiction. That's not healing when you do something like that. So, um, but that was one of the stories I like to tell, and I have her permission to tell that. I just don't say her name or where she's from, what her nationality is, or anything like that. But it was very much a teaching experience for me too. I mean, a learning experience for me as well. So the lady is really doing good now. Yeah, she's got everything that she needs, that she wants, that is healthy. And what this man did to her, she's at peace with it. It's never going to go away, but she was able to transform it into a weapon. Instead of, being an injury, she was able to transform it into being a weapon. Not to hurt, okay? Not to hurt, but to survive. Not to be a victim, but to survive. So, that's how it is. Yeah, that's when they say, "Oh, hetchetuelo." So anyway, this is why it's important. Yeah, that when I talk about these things on this show, like duality, that's why it's really important to know these things, so you don't fall victim to it. Because like attracts like. If you don't know what duality is, you will be a victim or an abuser. That is a guarantee. So to get out of it, you have to learn about it. Know how it works so you can transform it. Then it becomes a tool, becomes a weapon for healthy living. Yeah? So, um, so this is that lady was able to find real healing. And it was inside of her the whole time. I just helped her to find it. Nothing more. That's what real healers do. Yeah? And this doesn't cost, because healing has no price. Yeah, there you have it. So anyway, that's this um, going to paying money to go inside of a sweat lodge is not necessary. And when somebody asks you for money to do this, you're in the wrong place, buddy. Just get the hell out of there. You don't need that. Yeah, you need something better than that. And that, my friends, has no price. Yeah. So anyway, I was just thinking of that. Yeah, this song, just a Rezboy, and what it what it's talking about, and the kind of nonsense that these Indians, a lot of them are Indian guys doing this. Yeah, they're twisting things And I was talking about one last couple of weeks ago. This Nathan Chasing Horse, he does the same thing. He's also a fake medicine man. He tricks a lot of girls. He grooms them. Yeah, just like a pimp. And now he's getting banned from a lot of reservations because his work, his evil work, is catching up to him. See, what you send out comes back to you 4 times as strong. If he really knew the Lakota way, he would know that. But evidently, he doesn't believe it because he's doing these things anyway. He's doing these sick things, abusing young girls and teenage girls, sexually abusing them, and now it's catching up with him. So, there you have it. Yeah. Okay. My coffee's. I need to drink my coffee. Hey, hang on a second. This coffee really smells good. I'm gonna mute so I can take a drink. Ooh, that was good. Listen to It's called Nespresso. Huh? What starts with the N and then espresso. Ooh, shit, they make good machines. Yeah, damn. Yeah, they really make good coffee. I really like that. I never was a coffee person until I got an espresso machine. And so you can now you know what I mean when I was talking about uh, how that song "Just a Res Boy," how that when it got banned by a lot of Native American radio stations because a lot of their listeners were Christian, and they thought that I was comparing myself to Jesus, and actually it was the other way around. Yeah, maybe they were angry about that too. Yeah, that didn't fit well because it made it look like Jesus is just a regular guy, which he is. Yeah, this is it's the Catholic Church that blew it out of proportion. Yeah, um, they built a mountain out of a molehill, and and it's gonna fall. Yeah. So this is, but this explains why. Yeah, that older people, or the Christian people, Christian Indians were really upset at that song, and that song really tells a lot. Yeah, that song really tells a lot of information. Um, and it's making people aware of exploitation. Yeah, that our own people are exploiting our culture, our spirituality, and also it talks about how in some Indians believe that they don't want to marry other Indians. They only want to marry white people because they believe that their life will be better. Yeah, and that's not true. I have an aunt that's married to a white man, and this white man is a bum. He never held a job in his life, and this family crew, they're kind of like gypsies. Yeah, they just live here and there, and at one point they were receiving welfare from 3 states. Yeah, no kidding, from Wyoming, no, from Montana, Nebraska, and South Dakota. For 3 states, they were receiving welfare. That's all this man's doing. Yeah, he's the lazy guy. So my aunt who married white, and it's just it's crazy. And there was a time period, in the past where, like in the 1960s and so, where it was, if you had a name that was not so Indian sounding, that you could your chances of getting jobs were increased. So, like for example, there was a guy on Shan River Sioux Reservation. His name was Sidney Eagle Chasing, and he is a relative of mine through my mother's side of the family, through her mother's side of the family. And this guy really assimilated, into American, uh, the white American world. And he changed his name from Eagle Chasing to Keith, so he was known as Sidney Keith. And he what war was he in? I don't know if it was World War II or the Korean conflict. One of those two. He came back and he said that he was so traumatized that he forgot how to speak Lakota. That's what he said. So he was walking around the reservation taking a translator with him everywhere he went, which is kind of bullshit because everybody spoke English anyway. You see what I mean? This guy is a showman. Yeah, he's always putting on a show. And then Dances with Wolves came out, the movie, and suddenly it's popular to be Lakota. So the next thing you know, he's a medicine man. Yeah, and suddenly he's an Indian expert. And I saw one of his presentations. In fact, I videotaped one. I was working for the tribal library at the time, so he was doing a cultural Lakota spirituality cultural presentation in Timberlake, South Dakota, back in 1990 something. I can't remember the year, mid 90s. I videotaped it, and you could hear me on the background saying, "Oh yeah, right. That's not even true what he's saying." And I knew he wasn't the real thing because there were certain elements that pointed to me that he's some of the things he's making up, and I had my mother watch it. As a matter of fact, this video, and my mom said, Now, if you're Lakota, you know that is a sign of disgust. That is a expression of disgust. That what he's doing, he's just like he's a showman, yeah, like he's putting on the show, and he likes to be the center of attention, and yeah. So this is one of the fakes. Yeah, this is one of the fake medicine men. There's a whole bunch of them. He's dead now, by the way. And I'm not attacking him. I'm telling the truth. Yeah, this is honest to goodness truth. That a lot of his things that he did were very questionable. And if he was a medicine man, why didn't he change his name back? Because the name is a really cool name, yeah? Eagle Chasing. That's a cool name. And but he didn't want to be called that. He wanted to have a white name, yeah? Sidney Keith, that was his name. So there are people who thought like that, yeah? They didn't want to be Indian. That was just beaten into them in boarding schools and so forth, and people took it into overdrive, yeah? Because you could, like I said, if you applied for a job and your employer sees the name, two applicants, one's last name is Keith, the other one's is Eagle Chasing, he's going to look favorably on the one that says Keith. That's a sad reality. That is true. Yeah, that is a sad reality that we had, that some of our people jumped through the hoops to get to where they are. That's sad because they had to go against their own culture. They had to go against their own people. They had to step on their own people's backs to get to where they were. And that's not respectful. And on my dad's side of the family too, same thing. There was an old lady by the name of Edna. She married a little elk. She's not a little elk. She's a little elk by marriage. But she wanted to be white too. So she married the first white man who would marry her. She just was looking for a white man. She didn't care what kind of man he was, as long as he was white, so she could get a white last name. So she took the name Layton. Yeah, so she wanted to be called Edna Layton because it made her sound white. This is an old lady, yeah. And then Dances with Wolves came out, and all of a sudden she's a Lakota expert. And she was calling herself Edna Little Elk after that. Not a nice person. Yeah, I met her, and she was not nice to me at all because I'm a real little elk. Yeah, and she's not. So she didn't like that. So it's crazy. Yeah, how some people are. And what to me is the problem is all this focus on the exterior identity. There's too much focus on the exterior identity and not enough on the interior. And the more that we focus on our exterior identity, the further we go away from our sacred center, and the stronger we become in duality, which means our lives become unhealthy. We start, denying certain realities in our lives, thinking that as long as we don't think about it, it's not there. So we let it fester, and it's going to bite us in the ass. Yeah, because it's unhealthy communication, and that's what we're sending out when we do that, and that's going to come back 4 times as strong. So that's the problem. Yeah, that is the problem. So it's about being real. Yeah, when the things that I was mentioning about an hour ago about learning from difficulties and communicating in a healthy way and things like that, this is how you are real, because that is what we're designed to do. Yeah, we're designed to learn from difficulty, and then it's not a bad thing. Yeah, it's not a mistake. It's not a failure anymore, because we learned from it, and now it's a tool for us. We have wisdom and knowledge from it, and we are come to peace with it. Then later on, we can look at it again, and we see something new. Because when we do, as time goes, and we live healthy, we comprehend more. So it's okay. It's a good idea to look in the past again, because you will see more things that you didn't see before. They were always there, but now you can see them because you know more. You have more clear vision and comprehension of reality, the healthier that you live. That's what it's about. And then you can visualize the kind of future that you would like. You take time each day to enjoy that visualization in private and act like you're already there. And what this is doing is it's putting a pattern, it's embedding a pattern inside of your mind. And this is going to influence you going to give you inspiration to achieve a wonderful future. So in that way, you're learning from the future. You can learn from the past and you can learn from the future, as long as you're living in a healthy way. That's called non-linear. Linear is just when you go in one direction and then you think that the further you go, the better you are. See, you're setting yourself above others. That's linear thinking. That creates duality. But in our ancestors, it's non-linear. We learn from the past and the future, as I explained. Then you think more in a community way. Your society is really a reflection of your body, because you're taking care of yourself physically, mentally, spiritually, and emotionally. And your society is going to reflect that when you do that. So doing that creates a community thinking perspective, and that's how your society really becomes healthy. Yeah. So it all begins within you. It's not a ceremony. It's not a chant. It's not a drumming session or a meditation session. It's how you live your life. It includes everything. That is the ceremony. You are the sacred item. And that's all that matters. So when you live this way, you're fulfilling your role as a blessing. Your calling is sacred. And this is how you answer it. Yeah? I just ask that you think about it. That's all. Yeah? I just ask that you think about what I said. Nothing more. You don't have to agree with me. And just take time to think about it. But this is all based on Lakota star knowledge concepts. Yeah? So that's why I say, please take time to think about it. And you can still, if you agree with me, you can. That's okay. You know, I'm not out to change you, because I can't, and I don't want to. Only you can change you, but I can give you something to think about, and maybe that'll take you in a different direction. That's still good for you. Yeah, we're designed to do that. Influence one another. Give each other a thought and take it and go, oh, that's how that works. Everybody around you is going to feel that. Yeah, they're all going to thank you for that. Whatever it is. Reality begins within. So that's where we start. It has nothing to do with being an Indian or any other nationality. It's how we live our lives, because we are all human beings. In Lakota, we say, Ikche Wayate. Yeah, we are the human nation. That's the most important thing.